What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a requested video. I took a short break since Final Fantasy VII Remake came out, but I'm back with some content. I finished up through a couple streams. Ignister was a challenging deck for me, honestly, as it definitely requires some precise hands and correct plays, so I worked on it for a while until I found a build I was comfortable with. I's signature deck from Reigns is very offensive as it revolves around swarming the field with your Ignister monsters and going into different win conditions lying in the extra deck. To do this, the most important card in this deck is the field spell Ignister Island. The field spell lets you special summon an Ignister from the hand if you have no monsters in your main monster zones. You can do this once for every attribute each, which pretty much covers all the Ignister main deck monsters, since we run all of them. The field spell is only searchable by Picari, the light Ignister, and need the terraforming or set rotation that I teched in. Getting this field spell with roughly 2 to 3 Ignisters in your hand is definitely the ideal outcome, as you can pump out multiple link summons and eventually go into Xyz and Synchro monsters to help clear your opponent's board. The usual start play I like to go into is summoning 2 monsters to go into Cyber's Wicked. If I use Balance of the Lord, I can then banish him from the graveyard to search Boobaroo, the Wind Ignister, and special summon him at the same time. From here you can either Synchro into Wind Pegasus or Cyber's Quantum Dragon depending on your opponent's board. Getting the non-tuner back from the graveyard can get you another link summon, or if you bring back Picari you can go into a Light Dragon Xyz summon. Light Dragon and Wind Pegasus are the ultimate board clearing combo, as they can pop cards on the field depending on the Ignisters you control. They also have good secondary effects such as Pegasus shuffling a card into the deck, or Light Dragon reviving a monster when battle damage is done by your monster. While these cards are amazing to summon, sometimes they don't get the job done, so I run 2 strong link monsters. This is probably the best deck to run Firewall Dragon Darkfluid, one of the cards that were promoted in the update trailers. He is only one of the 2 link 5s in the game and gets stronger depending on the different Cybers extra deck monsters you have in the graveyard. Sadly, I kinda drifted away from Darkfluid because he is very easy to get rid of. Most times you will have 2 counters unless you can summon Earth Golem, and in this game 2 monster negates are easy to push through in my opinion. I'd say the best time to summon him would be going second on an open board after you cleared it out, because Darkfluid is very exposed to spells and traps, which can be a random possibility on the ladder. 2 counters gets him the 8000 attack during battle phase, which is a clean OTK. Along with the stable Avermax, I tested out Roster Liger, a Link 4 monster. Ideally, I would go into this by using Dark Templar as a material, which will boost him to 4000 plus attack. Combined with Light Dragon, he can make a nice OTK as well as maintaining some board presence if your opponent can survive somehow. It's also easier to just summon this if you can't get a synchro play for whatever reason, and Darkfluid will be short on counters. He worked well a couple times and I felt less pressed for time when going into him over Darkfluid, so it's an option. Since this deck loves to go second, I definitely stuck with Lightning Storm in the main, although Dark Ruler is a potential option as well. Set rotation with Mystic Mind was an interesting tech I saw in the tournament build, and you'll see it in the replays. It saved my life a few times. If you don't want to run this, you can run Foolish Burial Goods to dump the field spell, but just remember you have to banish a monster to bring it back. While there is the ritual component in the deck, it usually turns out to be a brick, so I cut it out entirely. If you want to get that 4th counter for Darkfluid, I would look into Cyber's Witch as a potential route, otherwise don't bother because like I said it only takes 2 counters to OTK. I did forget to highlight every card like I usually do, so I apologize. I'll post the deck list in the description to make up for it. For the replay, I decided to showcase a duel where I struggled in the beginning initially. This duel is also against Mega Gaming, another YouTuber who posts Link Evolution videos, so I invite you guys to check out his channel as he has a lot of content as well. Looking at our hand, opening both tuners is pretty terrible as Cyber's Wicked loses its value. We also open up Signet Ritual, which also kills the effect of Cyber's Witch, which I was testing out in this duel. This is the exact reason why the ritual aspect of the deck is not recommended to run. We do have Achichi and Picari, which isn't bad as we are guaranteed some plays however, but as you can see our opponent is Invoke Shadows and he summoned Winder right away. Going up against Invoke Shadows is pretty tough because as you can see Winder locks out one of the most important aspects of our deck, special summoning. The only clean solution to this would have been getting Lightning Storm or Water Leviathan, which can bounce his monster back to the extra deck. To make matters worse, he does set 2 back row, which can also pose a threat. Unfortunately, we do draw Ignister Island, which doesn't help us much for now, but it does let us use Picari to search something else. If he had a Link monster, we could have used I Love Fusion, but sadly that also isn't the case. While normally this could be an instant scoop, I do decide to try something risky and very rare, and that is set a bluff card. Since we can only special summon once per turn, I decide to search the quick play spell Idle Reborn. This spell is also important alongside the field spell as it can bring you back any of your Ignister monsters from the graveyard. Since it's a quick play spell, I decide to set it and hopefully special summon once on our opponent's turn to somehow muster a play on our next turn. This board we have literally has no defense, and all we can hope for is a miracle that he doesn't OTK us on the next turn. Mega here does have Super Polymerization, which is a terrifying card to see since we summon a dark monster sadly, so now our hopes of surviving go down even further. Since he used Squamata as a material, he can dump Dragon to pop a spell or trap card on our field, which then gives us that 50-50 miracle we need to make a play next turn. Starving Venom is also another issue, as if we somehow destroy him, he can kill our monsters and with it all of our hard work. As expected, Dragon is dumped here, and we got the miracle we needed since he popped a bluff card. With only one card in hand, I hoped he didn't have some sort of OTK chance so that we could save Idle Reborn for the end phase, as opposed to using it to survive the turn. Luckily this is the case as he goes straight into battle phase, and we can survive to 5,000 points of damage. At the end phase we can revive Picari, get another search which will be Idle Reborn. There aren't many other spell cards to search here, as there is no Link monster to use with I Love Fusion. If we could somehow guarantee Water Leviathan in our hand, we could search the ritual spell, but we are missing him sadly. Regardless though, we do have one play that we can make now that will save us. Now that Picari remains on our field, we can use our one special summon for something that can get us out of this situation on our turn. Since we drew Sign and Mining, we can go even further and search Balancer Lord, which will give us another summon without it turning into a special summon. There is a couple of options for us here now. The play I didn't make was overlaying Picari and Balancer Lord to make Light Dragon. From here we can pop both of his monsters while avoiding destruction from Starving Venom due to Light Dragon's other effect. The problem I saw with this play is that Winder can get a spell back from the grave, which gives him a play to recover next turn. Because of this, I decided to synchro up into Cyber's Quantum Dragon. Cyber's Quantum Dragon can bounce cards back to the hand and attack twice per turn. Thanks to this, we can dodge both of his monsters' effects while taking the offensive. Sadly, upon looking at the replay now though, going the Light Dragon route would have been better since we can go into a string of special summons and eventually go into Darkfluid for lethal via Transcode Talker's revival effect. The mistake I made here was only focusing on the Quantum play when I set the bluff, while I didn't consider drawing into Silent Mining or Balancer Lord. Regardless though, we did commit already, so at this point I'm only thinking of doing what damage I can at the moment while setting up for his next turn. Now that we have our restrictions lifted, we can go into Dark Templar and finally use the field spell Ignister Island to go into the place that we didn't get to before. Dark Templar is amazing for getting our materials back to the field as it usually guarantees you your Synchro NXE plays. Darkfluid is my current goal now, as I can expect quite a few monster effects coming from the Shadow deck, so I want to slow him down as much as possible. Unfortunately, we're only going to get a maximum of 2 counters since we didn't have a ritual play and we didn't summon Earth Golem. When bringing back monsters with Dark Templar, it's best to try and always bring back Picari and Boobaroo. Since we could not use Boobaroo's revival effect before, we get a chance to do it now by going into Wing Pegasus and bringing back the non-tuna material. Even though their effects are negated on the field, once Boobaroo leaves the field, his effect will trigger and you can bring back Picari. Wing Pegasus can also pop spells and traps on the field depending on the Ignisters you have on your board, so we can also pop that set card that Mega Gaming has. From here, we can overlay into Light Dragon, and we finally have the requirements for Darkfluid to be somewhat decent. The potential play I could have made here was summoning the Water Ignister Hiyari and tributing either Pegasus or Dragon for the Linger Rebo in my graveyard. From there I could use I Love Fusion to get that third counter for Darkfluid, but I was pretty nervous about the timer, which is my greatest weakness in this game. All we have left to do is to summon Darkfluid and hope our opponent doesn't have too many plays to make a comeback, because as you can see I don't have a decent recovery play on my next turn. Darkfluid also requires confirmation for his effect, so don't be like me mashing my A button to rush through timer and accidentally hitting no for his effect. Like I mentioned before, having Darkfluid alone like this isn't ideal because things like Infinite Impermanence and Raigeki can screw you over quite easily. As expected though, our opponent has the amazing Shadow Fusion, and since we have an extra deck monster, he can use his deck to send the materials. The problem with this is that depending on the chain link order the monster effects go through, He can have some monsters dodge Darkfluid's negation effect quite easily, which is another concern. I know Construct is coming at this point because it is pretty much the only monster he can summon to deal with Darkfluid. Since Construct can destroy monsters during battle, I know I have to try my very best to save a negate for that effect no matter what, so unless something threatens my monster, I won't be negating it. He does set off quite a bit of effects in this sequence, so I had to be very careful in preserving my monster. Another key thing to remember is that I have one Pegasus in the graveyard, which can shuffle his card back into the deck if he destroys one of my cards. One sneaky thing he does slip into his effect sequence is Neo Shadow Aerial, which does pose a slight issue as it can banish cards from my graveyard. While I don't care about the majority of the monsters, getting one Pegasus banished could somewhat hurt me, so I do decide to negate it. Now that I'm down to one negate, I have to let him play the rest of his turn out because I definitely have to save Darkfluid for Construct. Any event he can get through Darkfluid and can survive thanks to Pegasus, I pretty much fall into a top deck situation to try and get a play going. Now entering the battle phase, one of the most annoying prompts you'll see in this deck is the Fire Ignister Achichi's effect. This effect destroys your own monster during the battle step, which is usually not a good idea, so you always want to hit no. This effect is only intended for Fire Phoenix, another link 3 we rarely go into. With Construct attacking, we can finally use that last negate and avoid destruction, but due to his floating and summoning monsters to the field in preparation, Mega does have another Construct play. Darkfluid is doomed here since we are out of negates and can't avoid destruction this time, but a small miracle does happen in which he uses Construct's effect to mill a Shadow from the deck. Thanks to him doing this, he does decide to mill another copy of Shadow Dragon, which can pop a spell or trap card on the field. Since he does this, when Pegasus can shuffle Construct back into the deck and we are saved to get a godlike top deck on our following turn. We're gonna draw into Monster Reborn here, and this card pretty much wins us the duel as we can bring back Cyber's Quantum Dragon for a smooth lethal play, while avoiding whatever potential flip effect his set monster could have. That's it for me guys, I hope you enjoyed the rest of the video. Once again, check out Mega Gaming's YouTube channel, and make sure you like and comment on the video.